Hey, it's Callan from Authentic Lifestyle Design, and today I want to talk to you about healthy eating and why it's so important. The number one cause of death in America and so many other countries around the world is heart disease, okay? The number one cause of heart disease is obesity. People are eating too much of the wrong foods and not eating enough of the right foods. And because of that, they're putting on weight, they're putting unnecessary strain on their bodies, including their hearts, and they're wearing out more quickly. And this is something that takes time for you to notice because heart disease isn't something that just happens overnight. It generally takes decades and decades of poor eating for something like this to happen. Like your body can literally handle eating bad food for about 40 years before you'll start to see negative health effects. But once you do, it's really hard, right? Say once you've developed something like diabetes or whatever, it can be really hard or if not impossible to undo that. So look at it like this. You want to eat the right foods. And I think a cool little way to put that is imagine looking at your body like it's a car or like it's a machine, right? And therefore you have to go and research what's the best fuel that you can put in this machine. And that's not going to be cheeseburgers, pizzas and chocolate and soft drink and alcohol and all these things, right? That's not going to have your body running at its optimum. So you have to try and put the food into your body that's going to make it function well, which is a nice balance of proteins, of carbs, of meeting all your vitamins, and overall eating all the right foods. And it's also not about what you eat, it's about how much you eat. So you don't actually want to eat too much. You don't want to eat to where you're so full that you're just bloated and sleepy and exhausted, right, and lethargic. You don't want to push it that far. More so, you just want to focus on diet as being this pillar of your life. And you can do that by kind of reversing the 80-20 principle. So generally what the 80-20 principle is, and I'll talk about it in future videos, is that 20% of the things you do are going to lead to 80% of the results. So if you're running a business, you look at the top 20% of things you're doing and you try and look at those and copy those across. But for the sake of diet, we're going to reverse that. Because in an ideal world, you'd eat clean food. You wouldn't eat any rubbish, right? You'd just eat good food all the time. You'd be eating heaps of veggies and heaps of clean meats and your nuts and your proteins and your ligaments, like everything else, right? You'd be totally fine. But that's not really the world we live in. People, they go out one night and they'll eat a bunch of ordinary food, a bunch of unhealthy food. So a way you can probably fix that is by using the inverse of the 80-20 principle, meaning that 80% of the food you eat should be healthy. It should be well calculated food that's good for your body, and you've done the research to figure out what kind of foods are good for your body and what your body needs. But then 20% of the time you can get away with eating something not as healthy. So you can have that bit of chocolate or that bit of cake or that pizza once a week or whatever, right? But it's not every day that you're eating ordinary foods. Now, there's so many benefits to this. Obviously, the main one is you'll live longer. You won't have all these health complications as you get older. That's an important one. But there's also more short-term reasons, such as you'll have more energy in your life. Your energy levels will be higher if you give your body healthy food, so it can break down those foods and get the energy from those foods. And there's different qualities, If you just eat a bunch of sugar, it'll give you energy real short term and then you'll have a crash. And that's not going to do you any good at all. So you need to go and research what foods to actually eat. And generally you'll find that the sweet spot is a balance. The sweet spot is finding that harmony of diet where you're meeting all your nutritional needs. So you look at your vitamins, for example, like B12 and all the other ones. But you need to have a look at these things. Vitamin C. So what do? You have some fruits, and you guys all know this. You have fruits, you have some vegetables, you have meat, have some nuts, have a couple of legumes, have a couple of all these different kinds of foods. A few grains, not going too heavily on the grains. And over time, this will aid to your health. It'll make you feel better. Another thing a lot of people do is their diets are really acidic. And when your diet's really acidic, that's going to lead to things like you'll be tired, it'll speed up your aging, it'll make your skin worse, so many other things. So if you can make your diet less acidic, that also leads to benefits. And of course, don't eat all day every day. Learn how to control that urge. Learn how to control that impulse. And then have a look at how many calories or kilojoules, how much energy you burn through the day. Because it depends on what you do in your day. So you're sitting in an office all day? Because if you're sitting in an office all day, chances are you're going to need less food than someone that's a tradie that's like working, say they're a builder and they're building all day. Obviously that person might need a bit more food because they have a little bit more energy to burn. So you can go into this, and you can go into this so deep. There's so much depth to nutrition, and there's so many diets you can try, and you'll figure out what you eat that makes you feel good. Because there's a saying that goes like this, which there's a storm outside. It's really starting to kick up. But there's a saying that goes, there is no food that tastes as good as it feels to be healthy. So basically, it feels better to be healthy than any food out there tastes. And at the end of the day, it's worth being healthy. It's worth eating those right foods and having the discipline to maintain a steady, healthy diet. Because in the long run, that's going to lead to health. You'll live longer, you'll have better skin, you'll have more energy, you'll be more productive, you'll be smarter, your mind will be sharper. All of these benefits. And don't overeat. Don't eat the wrong foods. Just all these simple things. But that can all be really difficult, of course, because our mind craves junk food. And a lot of food companies know this, so they make their food as addictive as possible. Therefore, you go and eat something like some chocolate, and your brain, your dopamine, pulls you to eat that chocolate because it knows it's so good. It knows it leads to such an explosion of energy and good feelings, and like makes you euphoric when you're eating this chocolate. But you're not realizing that long term, that's leading to problems with your energy. That's leading to you becoming lethargic. And that's leading to all these potential negative health effects in the long run. Like, if you have something like diabetes, obviously think of the impact that something like diabetes or heart disease would have on your life. And evaluate if it's worth eating bad food. And again, 80-20. 80% of the time, eat clean, eat good food. And then that 20% of the time, you can go and eat junk. You know, you can go out with your friends and eat pretty well whatever you want. Just don't make it a daily thing. And again, it's like putting fuel in a car. If you put really bad, unpure fuel into a car, obviously, yes, the car will still run, but the car's not going to run as well. And the car's going to run out more quickly. So what you want to do instead is you want to put good fuel in the car. So if you can start looking at your body as a vehicle, and you can eat for the function of being healthy, and of course you can make healthy food taste fantastic, but if you start eating with the purpose of keeping your body healthy, rather than the purpose of just eating the best tasting food you can find, and the unhealthiest food you can find more often than not, then you can actually push through and you can do this, and you'll feel it in your body within a couple of weeks. You'll feel amazing benefits to eating clean. Because really, you think about it like this, your body is what you eat. You know, what you eat goes down through your body and it metabolizes that food and turns that into energy. So if you eat a bunch of really ordinary food over months and months, your body will start to absorb all of that, right? You want to eat clean foods. You also don't want to eat foods that are full of chemicals and are full of things that are bad for you. You know, you want to eat healthy stuff. You want to eat the healthiest food you can. And that goes into so many things. And that doesn't matter what your diet is. Say if you want to be a vegan, that's completely fine. But if you want to go vegan, don't just go eating like chips and rubbish, you know. You'll have to go and do the research and figure out what foods you have to eat in order to meet your nutritional needs. And in a lot of ways with a diet, it's worth going and seeing a nutritionist because we're all different. You know, we all have different body types and we all have different responses to different foods. So if you really wanted to take it seriously, you can go talk to a nutritionist and they'll actually walk you through what the ideal diet would be for your body and your goals. So this stuff runs really deep, and I recommend you begin to explore it. Begin to explore what foods are good for your body and how your energy and how you overall feel based on what you're eating. Again, so many people are depressed now, and there's plenty of people out there whose depression has reversed just because they've changed their diet, just because they've eaten better foods. Because you'd be amazed. If you're not currently doing this, you'd be astonished how many people just eat junk food all the time. and the negative impacts. There's some people that go through like a 2 liter bottle of soft drink every day with sugar, and they do that for decades. And over time, yes, that's going to have some negative health effects. And yeah, it is quite insane. So, I recommend you eat healthy foods. And it doesn't have to be 100% of the time, because you're a human being and you're going to be pulled to the sugary, sweet things that exist in this world. But it's all about discipline. It's about 80% of the time, have the discipline to eat the right foods. And that's dieting too. Say if you're overweight now and you want to lose that weight, because I highly recommend if you're obese to not be obese, because again, you're potentially opening yourself up to so many illnesses as you get older. Instead of that, actually go in and look at how you can improve your diet. What could you do? For example, you could do something like intermittent fasting. You could have one meal a day. You could go and do all these extreme things. They are going to be really difficult and your brain's not used to it. So many people, they just yo-yo. They lose weight, they put it straight back on because they're looking at a diet as a temporary thing, when a diet is more a lifestyle. A diet is observing the fuel you put in the car and putting the best fuel in that car to make it run to the, highest capacity it can. And you'll notice those changes in yourself as you practice this. So, I hope this has inspired you, if you're doing it, not to eat as much rubbish, not to eat as much junk food. Doesn't mean you can't eat any, but 80-20 it. 80% of the time, eat good food, and then 20% of the time, you can let yourself go and splurge and do whatever. So if you gained any value from this video, give it a like, leave a comment as to what you thought. Do you think eating healthfully is of benefit? Do you not really care? Let me know what you think. And share it with someone you think it might help. And if you like this sort of content, then subscribe to the channel. Again, time, money, health, relationships, environment, and purpose. They're the 6 pillars to lifestyle design in my personal opinion. And they work for me and I try to use them. Apart from that, peace out and enjoy the rest of your day. Stay healthy.